You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. So we're going to be talking on the phone how that more people than ever seem to be ditching dairy. Firstly, thank you very much for joining us. If you could just introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself, that would be really good to start us off.
I'm Juliet Gellatley, and I'm the founder of a charity called Viva, which I started over 20 years ago now. The charity looks at the impact on animals and on our health and the environment from the foods that we eat, basically. And we also help people change. We help them move away from animal products and towards a vegan diet.
So should people cut dairy out of their diets?
I think one of the reasons that this dairy-free revolution is happening is because it's so bizarre to consume dairy products after weaning. We've evolved, like all mammals on the planet, to just have the milk of our mums. And we're not meant to consume it as adults at all. And when we do, it's setting us up for a lot of health problems. So, for example, a cow naturally produces lots of hormones and growth factors, which are in her milk to direct the growth of a very, very rapidly growing calf. Because you think they go from calf to bull, for example, within a year. So it's got estrogens, progesterones, growth factors. But when we eat those as an adult in dairy products, they are linked to various cancers in us, especially prostate cancer in men and breast cancer in women. And so there are a lot of serious health arguments about why it's good to give up dairy. Another one is heart disease. Because dairy are loading the nation with so many saturated fats through the hard cheeses, butters, creams, milk chocolate, ice cream, that's very much linked to heart disease in modern society and to strokes as well. So yes, in answer to your question, it's a very positive thing to get your calcium from other sources, plant sources like plant milks and calcium-rich foods like broccolis and kale and cabbage and all the pulses, the peas, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds, foods like that. We're very, very well adapted at getting calcium out of. We're very good at it.
I was going to say, because that's one of the things we're sort of always told, dairy, especially milk, is good for calcium, and trying to find those alternatives is, I suppose, not always obvious or seem as easy.
I know. I think the dairy industry has done a very good job in saying you need to consume milk for healthy bones, when in fact, when you think about it, we've only been consuming milk for 6,000 years, which is the blink of an eye in our evolutionary history. So what did we do for the millions of years before that? And also, I think what's reassuring to remember is that 3/4 of our world's people today do not drink dairy. They never have. So across countries like China and so forth and Vietnam, almost everybody is what's called lactose intolerant, so they can't digest the milk anyway. So it's never been a part of their culture, and they're not jelly-like blobs on the floor. Human beings are very well adapted to getting calcium out of plants like we always have throughout our history. But in today's world, if you drink soya milk or almond milk or rice milk, they've got the same amount of calcium as cow's milk. So it really is not hard.
So people do seem to be more aware of it, and more people, as we've said, are starting to ditch dairy. So what's changing?
I think the information's changing. Is that Viva's been campaigning on this for decades, and when I first set up Viva, it was very much vegetarian sort of campaigning, and things evolve, people evolve, and information becomes stronger. So the science, for example, and what we've just been talking about, has become much, much stronger in terms of the effect of hormones and growth factors on human cancers. So that information is relatively new. It's also the fact that we have exposed things like, we filmed one of the major chocolate suppliers in the UK and what they did with the male calf. So every time, for a cow to produce milk, she has to have a 9-month pregnancy. She then gives birth, then obviously the milk kicks in. And people just haven't really thought about this. They just thought a cow just produced milk magically from eating grass, when of course that's not true. And when we expose things like what happened to the discarded male calves being shot in the head at just a day or two old, that kind of information these days, especially with social media, goes out to millions and millions of people. So people, I think, are sitting up and just much more educated about all the issues and what the industry involves.
And I think I did hear somewhere that, having lots of sort of cows bred is not always good for the environment either.
No, because the more cows there are on the planet, they're the biggest cause of methane, which is a very potent global warming gas, of course. But also, it's not just that, it's the amount of land you need to then put over to feeding the cows, and the amount of water that they need. And because there are so many people on this planet, to actually feed us all, it's much more efficient to feed people a plant-based diet than it is to feed them meat and dairy products. And that's becoming a massive issue. So one of the biggest causes, for example, of loss of forests is making way to grow plant crops, not to feed us directly, but to feed farmed animals. So yes, you're right. Dairy farming is very inefficient in terms of sustainability, and it's very damaging in terms of global warming gases.
So, do you have any advice on the ways people can start to realistically adapt their diets?
I think that we've done a really nice, easy guide, which is just called Everyone's Going Dairy Free, which you can download free of charge from viva.org.uk, and on the dairy site, whitelies.org.uk. It's on both of those. And it goes through, all the typical dairy products, through everything from custard to chocolate and cheese alternatives. They're all in there where you can get hold of them. But also there's recipes in there. So, for example, if you like very traditional recipes that contained a lot of dairy, like quiche, there's a vegan version in there that's absolutely delicious and so forth. So it's a very good starting point, I think, as a shopping guide and as a recipe guide. But it's not difficult. And I think the thing is, in Britain, we are overloading ourselves with the bad foods and the junk foods. And if you can cut dairy out, people tend to become a little bit more mousy and tend to eat a bit more healthy, more fruits and veg, more of the peas, beans, lentils, more whole grains, and that can only be a really good thing. It's what we need in Britain.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us here at BRFM Bridge Radio on the Daniel Monday Night Community Show.
Thank you very much indeed.